Good morning. You're listening to Brian Masse on AM800, and we're going to talk a little bit about the border. A drug and other paraphernalia-based arrest was seized at the Windsor-Detroit location just recently, and I wanted to touch in with Mark Weber. He's the National President of Customs Immigration Union, because we've often seen a number of different high-profile busts that include everything from or seizures, they should be more, commonly referred to, of, cocaine, drugs, and so forth. But this one also got to some other issues that I think that get not as much attention, but they could be equally, if not more important in many respects, is that there was an actual amount of 92,000 kilograms of nicotine products that were seized at the Ambassador Bridge. So I have Mark on the line here to talk about this and a few other things on our border. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mark. I really appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Brian. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate you. Now, this 92,000 kilograms of nicotine products that were seized, the media has mentioned that there's like 40 kilos of vapes, 249 kilos of tins, 162 of pouches. These are products that would go into the supply chain right away. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how the seizure kind of went about, and also, too, is that the dangers of what this happens to be for our consumers if the products actually get into Canada.
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning when you kind of look at what we do seize, and then you look at numbers of what that accumulates to over a year, and really highlights the important work that our officers do at the border. I'm guessing a lot of these products would have ended up in the hands of underage users. It's illegal firearms, it's illegal narcotics. And you're right, we don't really highlight things outside of the narcotics and the firearms usually, and this is a very good example of it. It's not just that, right? Which is really why we need those people working at the border, doing those searches and doing those interviews.
And that's the thing that we don't even know about these products, whether they're knockoffs, whether they're laced with different substances, whether they create other addictions. There's a whole series of things that will be examined in the products later on. But, there is also the mythology is that, all the things are coming from Canada into the United States, but your members see stuff coming into Canada from the U.S., not only just at the Windsor-Detroit border, but across this country, and also through not just land, but also through air. Is that not correct?
Absolutely. It's every mode, and the flow is far more of us interdicting coming from the U.S. into Canada than the other way around. I mean, I know with all the tough talk around tariffs and what we're hearing coming from the south of us, an impression is painted that is not the case. I mean, when you look purely at numbers, I mean, we are interdicting many times more coming into Canada from the U.S. than the other way around. And in terms of illegal firearms, it's exclusively one way.
Yeah, and you know what? And this is one of the reasons I know I'm a biased critic against this promised helicopter we're getting from the province that's in response to the fentanyl that Trump says is coming from Canada to the United States, and our premier is gifting us a helicopter, and I think it's going to be 2027 when it finally arrives. But I think that, you've been promised more support to train more officers. I know from a matter of fact that there's been, a couple tranches of trainees that never got through during COVID, and then also retirees. What's the status of getting boots on the ground? I would prefer to have boots on the ground than helicopters any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely. A helicopter is not going to do you much good in that respect. We've been promised an extra 1,000 officers, which is huge. We've been calling for an increase to our numbers for so many years. The difficulty now is getting them, fully trained and actually at the front line. It's about an 18-week training program with a 1-year apprenticeship. So to become a fully trained border services officer, it takes some time. That being said, we got to start somewhere. We see the numbers going up a little bit. I see an increased push at our one training college to get more recruits pumped out, but 1,000 is going to take a long time, years, to get those numbers up to what they need to be. So it's a long-term project. We could really use an expansion to our training facility or an additional training facility. I know there was at least one location in the Windsor area that was floated for a while as being a good option. We keep bringing those things forward to the CBSA. We're hoping that they're exploring expansions beyond Rigaud.
Well, that would be great in terms of the Windsor region, because we are going to have the Gordie Howe come on, and we're going to have all these retirements taking place anyways, and we're right kind of in the mix of all this action down here. What's it? Describe maybe the kind of can anyone become, if they get trained properly in terms of getting this position? Like, what is the background they might be looking for, or the mere fact is if you apply yourself and you work hard, you can become a CBSA officer.
You can. It's a good career, too. You get to do a lot of good. Our benefit packages are quite good. Pay is good. You get to try a whole bunch of different kinds of work in your career. You could work in different parts of the country. There's a lot of good aspects to it. You need a high school equivalency. You're going to have to get your PALS, some basic first aid training and such. There's a physical requirement, obviously entry exams and that to get in. You just go on the CBSA website, and it gives you everything you need there, and you basically apply online. And they are pumping people out of that college at a pretty regular pace. So you have a good chance of getting in if you want it.
Yeah, I've always believed in the public safety aspect of it just to start with, but also too, this 92,000 kilograms of nicotine products, that getting into our society is going to cost us a lot more than it is actually then to pay for officers and have them contributing to actually stopping illegal contraband getting into our country, especially ones that could create addiction and other problems that are not regulated, or if they are regulated, they actually have parts of the proceeds to go to help support people. Now, with that in mind, in terms of the training, and in terms of the growth that's going to be there, what are some of the new things that members might be facing now that they weren't in the past with technology or changes, and how do you keep up with the way that people smuggle stuff into Canada, particularly our American friends?
Yeah, that's the name of the game, right? It's constantly adapting, learning trends, learning the new smuggling methods, the new concealment methods, what is coming from. That's all part of it, and it's silly to assume that smugglers are not intelligent and don't put a lot of thought and effort into how they're doing this. So it is really it's constant vigilance on our part to find where those trends are. We see now an agency that I feel and our union feels is kind of at a turning point in terms of how far we are going to go with technology. Obviously no machine can search a car, search a truck, search a bag, conduct an interview. And we do have concerns seeing so much reliance being put into automation that really relies on self-declaration, right? No one's going to self-declare that they're smuggling, ever. It's never happened. I've never seen it. That's not the nature of smuggling, right? So we still need those people there to do the interviews, to do the searches. That's what we're at the border to do. That's how we use that money we invest to keep our community safe. You hear, hiring of 1,000, but we're doing everything we can to try to make sure that those 1,000 are actually put where they need to be in doing that interdiction work. And we see that kind of lessening. We see at airports where, you essentially go through without speaking to anyone anymore. And we see plans for increased automation at land borders. And we see increased student use, which is concerning as well. They get very minimal training, and they're given jobs where they have responsibility over who and what gets into our country. That's concerning. That didn't used to be the case, but they work largely independently now.
Yeah, that's a change that also is affecting the local area as well too. Now, one of the things you mentioned about moving to more technology, even that I was shocked to learn this when I was out with some of the workers down here in Windsor, is that when we were trying to crack down at that point on the smuggling of stolen vehicles out of the Port of Montreal, that even though we had some of the equipment in place there, that not only did not have the equipment working, it wasn't being maintained, but also there was a lack of space to actually place vehicles once they actually were identified as potential stolen vehicles, and there just wasn't the operational support for the volume of work that was being done there.
Yeah, we have issues with facilities. Port of Montreal specifically, we could park about 6 cars, and once we find 6, we have nowhere to put them. We have to wait for them to be towed, and that's not unique. We have places where we have, we have no X-ray machine. They break down. They're not functioning. It takes a while to get them repaired or new ones. It's constant. I'm trying to look at it glass half full, and we've had some money given to the CBSA. We just need to make sure that money is allocated. Again, where it needs to be. We don't need, a new slew of middle managers. We don't need money put anywhere really except the front line. That's where all the actual work is being done. That's where those people need to be put.
Yeah, no, and I'm always being seen as this is a thing I'm drumming on, is I don't want a helicopter flying up and down the Detroit River that can't even intercede anything, just guessing at that point versus actually people in the pills booths that are doing that. Any advice, Mark, in terms of, and I put you on a little bit on the spot here, but I mean, you deal with the border on a regular day. We have Canadians that will be going over to the United States for the holiday season to visit family, friends, and so forth, and then also coming home. What's the best way to be prepared to exit and entry Canada as a person, so that you can do so in a way that you don't inadvertently lead to a detaining, or you're doing it in a way that leads to suspicion? What's the best practice as you do that? Because I always used to remind constituents that when we leave to go to another country, it's a privilege for them to let us in, and also when you're coming back, is to be straightforward, honest, and prepared, so it goes smoother. What's the advice that you have for people that are traveling back and forth?
I think you hit all the main points right there in what you said. Be honest, have your receipts ready. We're there to help you. We work in the greatest country in the world. We're happy to welcome Canadians back, and we know 99% of the travelers we deal with are, honest. They're there for legitimate reasons, and they just want to come home. Just have your ID and your receipts ready. Be upfront and honest, and shouldn't have any problems at all. And if you do get asked a few questions, just know that we're doing it to keep everyone safe. It's part of the job. It's not personal. I know sometimes, holiday season, things get really busy and people get frustrated, understandably, waiting in line for hours. But we do the best we can with what we've got. Holiday season, we often have officers working a lot of overtime, a lot of hours. It's all hands on deck to get you through as quickly as we can.
Yeah, it's good to remember, because we were asking them to keep us safe against these narcotic products, these illegal vapes and tins and products and all these different things that could affect our young people. But at the same time, they have to do that and ask us questions, and we forget sometimes that there are just our neighbors and our friends and our family as well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, and we know we travel as well, right? It's frustrating having to wait in line and dealing with the stress that is the holiday season, but we'll get you through. We're there for you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Mark. I appreciate you being online for us, and wishing you and the members all the best during the holiday season, and appreciate the work that's taking place. All
the best anytime, Brian. Merry Christmas, and everyone, buy Canadian.
Right on. There you go.
Thanks
very much. That was Mark Weber. He's the National President of the Customs Immigration Union. We're going to take a quick break, but wanted to do that little segment because it was unusual sometimes to see such good coverage of the narcotic products that were coming in, mostly related to these vapes and other things that we also don't assume is coming into the country, but they are, and protecting ourselves from those products and our young people is so important. So, again, thanks for that. And you're listening to Brian Masse on AM800.